أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله من أول الدنيا إلى فنائها ومن الآخرة إلى بقائها الحمد لله على كل نعمة وأستغفر الله من كل ذنب وأتوب إليه وهو أرحم الراحمين وصلى الله على سيدنا ونبينا أبي القاسم المصطفى محمد وعلى أهل بيته الأطيبين الأنجبين بهم نتولى ومن أعدائهم نتبرأ إلى الله اللهم كن لوليك الحجة ابن الحسن صلواتك عليه وعلى آبائه في هذه الساعة وفي كل ساعة وليا وحافظا وقائدا وناصرا وذليلا وعينا حتى تسكنه أرضك توغا وتمتعه فيها طويلا اللهم صل على محمد وآل Muhammad. The topic is on IMAMAT, and it is the divine and the wise belief system, and that is for the well-being of the humanity. Some of the qualities, the criteria or the requirements for the Imam were mentioned, and we talked about knowing and having that ma'rifah towards the Imam alayhi salam. Ma'rifah means knowing, and that is increasing our knowledge towards him. In that famous dua also you've heard, Allahumma arifni nafsak, innaka in lam tu'arrifni nafsak, lam a'rif rasulak. In that supplication we say, God, make yourself known to us, make yourself known to me. If you do not make yourself known to me, I will not know your Prophet. And if I do not know your Prophet, I will not be able to know the Imam. So we ask Allah for that ma'rifah, that knowledge be increased in us. Now regarding this ma'rifah, also a person comes to Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa alihi wasallam, and he says that, Lima summita bi Abil Qasim, why are you named Abul Qasim? The Prophet said, you know that I had a son, his name was Qasim, I being the father, my kunya was Abul Qasim. He says, I know that, but if there's anything more than that, let me know. Rasulullah says, you know Ali? Says, yes. Says, I raised him. And Ali, he is Qasimun Nari wal Jannah, the distributor of the hell and the heaven. So if he can do that, I am Abul Qasim, I am his father. So from that simple question, Rasulullah gave him a better understanding and insight of what that is. That is ma'rifah. Or for example, Abu Turab, the name that we have for Amirul Mu'mineen alayhi salam, it is his kunya. In the battle of Ushaira, Ammar Yasir and Amirul Mu'mineen Ali alayhi salam, they had a nap under a tree. Now he makes a pillow-like structure and then puts his head on it and sleeps. The Prophet, he comes and wakes them up. Imam Ali was all dusty with sand all over his clothes and his face, and he sat up and was dusting his face. That time Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa alihi wasallam, he addressed him as Abu Turab. Says, how beautiful you look like that, Ali. Turab in Arabic means dust. So Abu Turab was the name given by Rasulullah, title given by him to Amirul Mu'mineen. And there's an ayah in Quran which says that on the day of judgment, the kuffar, they would say, Ya laytani kuntu turaba. We wish we were turab, meaning dust. Over here, Imam as-Sadiq alayhi salam says, we wish we were among the adherents of Abu Turab, that is Amirul Mu'mineen, Ali alayhi salam. So all this is ma'rifah, knowing, and increasing our knowledge towards Allah tabaraka wa ta'ala, towards the prophethood, towards the Imams alayhimus salam, and the belief in the day of judgment that we have. Now, one of the other things that we ought to know is that obedience in our deen, it comes first. So we have ma'rifah, knowing. We talked about imamat, And that what makes this imamat different, that belief system, is that the whole idea is that we have to submit to the imam as the imam has submitted to Allah tabaraka wa ta'ala. So in this submission, in this obedience also, we see that if an imam, he slices an apple into two and he says this side is halal and that side is haram, so there is no question to be asked why this halal and why that haram. Because he says so and he has said so, I have to submit and abide by that command of his. So in our deen, obedience comes first. In one of these ahadith al-Qudsiyya, Allah tabaraka wa ta'ala says to Prophet, in the hadith Qudsi says, Yabna Adam, that is, O children of Adam, O sons of Adam, khalaqtul ashya'a li'ajlik, wa khalaqtuka li'ajli. I have created everything for you, and I've created you for myself. So, if he has created everything for me and he has created me for him, there he says, Abdi, my servant, ati'ni hatta aj'alaka mithli aw mathali. Says, my servant, obey me so that I make you just like myself or an example of myself. So as a result of that obedience to Allah tabarak wa ta'ala, all these miraculous tasks can be performed by anyone. So Quran says that in an individual or a community that cannot politically analyze or who cannot see the reality, the haqa'iq, or the true face of everything, this person is not basir, doesn't have an insight. And then says these people who do not have an insight, now that also again comes from ma'rifah and knowing. These people who do not have that basirat, they will be destroyed and will be wretched. And when they are destroyed and are disgraced, even the Prophet could do nothing for them. Says Quran says that in Surah Al-An'am, قد جاءكم بصائر من ربكم فمن أبصر فلنفسه ومن عمي فعليها وما أنا عليكم بحفيظ. قد جاءكم بصائر من ربه means that indeed there have come to you clear proofs. All the evidence are before you from your Lord. So whoever takes them, acts according to them, فلنفسه means it's good for him. وَمَنْ عَمِيَ فَعَلَيْهَا, and whosoever gives a blind look to them, all of that is going to be against him. So we have to know, and then we have to have an insight, and we have to be able to look and judge the right from wrong. So people, they should be able to recognize who hypocrites are, they should be able to recognize who mu'mineen are themselves, without a helping hand from anyone else. Even Imam al-Asir alayhi salatu wassalam, when he returns, and those people who will be in the service of the Imam alayhi salam, they are basir, they've got that they are of that caliber that they are able to judge right from wrong, mu'min from a munafiq, and that is among the requirements of those who want to be among the ashab of Imam alayhi salatu wassalam. If someone is truly religious with deen, he must be able to analyze, he must be basir. So be an ordinary person or someone special, one who cannot analyze or one who cannot be basir, his deen, his taqwa, it is ineffective. If he does pray, his prayers also will have no effect. One who cannot foresee is of no political use. Now, sanctions being removed or being reinstated, if one could not see this reinstating of sanctions then, or not abiding by the truce, the agreements then, it's a question mark on his basira. So Ibn Muljim was a friend of Imam Ali alayhi salatu wasalam, but because he had no basirat, he turns into a killer of Amirul Mu'mineen. So we should know, we have to increase the level of basirat we have. Being a friend of the Imam also, or the son of an Imam, it is not enough. Basirat, it is mandatory. We have to know, we have to understand, we have to have an insight, being able to analyze right from wrong, and one who has no basirat has no taqwa. All these are these ayat of Quran, and Rasulullah also, he says that I will not do anything, I will not help him. Ma ana alaykum bihafiz, I will not protect you if you did not fix yourself here, if you did not know from here, if you did not carry that basira from here to akhirah. Now when we look back into the history, for example, Imam as-Sadiq alayhi salam, he says that in the family of the Imams and the Prophets, there always existed someone who was a munharif, who was deviated and misled. So it's nothing severe or that people, they worry that how come he is from the descendants or the family of the Imam and he has been misled and he's deviated. They always existed. Like for example, Hassan bin Muhammad Hanafiya. Muhammad Hanafiya is the son of Amirul Mu'mineen alayhi salam, half brother of Imam Hassan and Hussein alayhi salam. His opinion is that is the grandson of Amirul Mu'mineen. He says that I do not know whether Haqq is with Ali or Haqq is with Osman. So being able to look ahead is essential product of basirat. We must be able to see the right and the wrong. Now in this day and age that we are in, there are so many fitnas left and right being poured. Fitna means to test, means a test. So we are facing a variety of divine tests, and the tests are definite to happen. Amirul Mu'mineen Ali alayhi salam has said, do not say, God, unto you I seek refuge from the fitnas and the tests, because there is no one not being tested, not surrounded or drowned in tests. Instead, you seek refuge in God that you are not ruined, you are not misled, deviated in these fitnas. Amirul Mu'mineen says in Nahj al-Balagha, La yaqulanna ahadukum, that is, you should not say that. So fitna in the Akhirul Zaman, these tests and trials that we have, they are good. Fitna, it isn't bad, especially because the good results it will have in Akhirul Zaman. Imam as-Sadiq alayhi salam, he says that wish for fitnas and be tested in Akhirul Zaman, especially in the community, because the tyrants, they are ruined by those tests and trials that will be upon you. When we look back into Karbala, Imam Hussein saw so many tests and trials, went through such a tough time. But the result of that was that Taghut and that Yazid, he was ruined. So it is good that we are tested in these fitnas, tests and trials. Says that تَمَنَّوُ الْفِتْنَةِ فَفِيهَا هَلَاكُ الْجَبَابِرَةِ. Tamannaw means you request, you ask and wish for fitnas. فَفِيهَا هَلَاكُ الْجَبَابِرَةِ. The tyrants, they will be ruined by those tests, through those tests. And then طَهَارَةُ الْأَرْضِ مِنَ الْفَسَقَةِ. And the land, this earth, it will be purified from the existence of these fasiqeen, the fasaqa. And then says, لَا تَكْرَهُ الْفِتْنَةِ فِي آخِرِ الزَّمَانِ فَإِنَّهَا تُبِيرُ الْمُنَافِقِينَ. That is, do not dislike, do not hate the fitnas of Akhirul Zaman, as these tests, they ruin and they expose the hypocrites, the munafiqeen. So fitna, it is good. Fitna, it means tests. They are good for mu'mineen, they make them strong, and that is again ma'rifah that you have to have towards the Imam. Now you have faith in the Imam. All these tests and trials you will be going through. We talked about imamats. Now with reference to the Imam alayhi salatu wassalam, فَقَالَ يَا أَبَا عَبْدِ اللَّهِ. In one of the riwayat that we have regarding the fitnas in Akhir Zaman, they will be severe, but the solution also is going to be easy. Imam as-Sadiq alayhi salam, he was sitting in his tent. Someone came to him and said, what shall we do in those severe fitnas of Akhir Zaman? Imam puts away the curtain of the tent and said this. The questioner, the person who was asking that question, he replied, the sunlight, Yabna Rasulullah. Imam said, judging, identifying haq from batil will be easier than that sunlight that was coming into this tent. So by me drawing that curtain, that sunlight, it didn't enter my tent. And then says, فَقَالَ يَا أَبَا عَبْدِ اللَّهِ ترى هذه الشمس قلت نعم فقال والله لأمرنا أين من هذه الشمس أبين من هذا الشمس. Imam says that in the continuation of the same riwayah, where he points at fitnas more severe than that of Dajjal, guides and says, among the signs of that fitna is that they portray to be our lovers, but they are misled, they are munharif, and they are deviated. They are friends with our enemies, and our enemies with our friends, and enemies with our friends. So, بِمُوَالَاتِكُمْ أَعْدَائِنَا وَمُعَادَاتِ أَوْلِيَائِنَا. Passing by these fitnas of Akhir Zaman, it's very easy. Much easier than the fitnas, tests and conspiracies of the era of Amirul Mu'mineen alayhi salam. Now we have to know who the enemy is, whosoever and to whatsoever level is connected to him is a sign of his deviation and his inhiraf. Amirul Mu'mineen alayhi salam says that tear apart the waves of fitna by the ships of salvation. أيها الناس شقوا أمواج الفتن بسفن النجاة. Now who are these sufun al-najat? And these fitnas that we are seeing in this day and age, how can that be removed? The problems that mu'mineen are seeing and facing, how can all of that be put aside? Imam says that you tear apart these fitnas, these tests and trials via the Ark of Salvation. Ark of Salvation are the Ahlul Bayt. Ark of Salvation, now it's Imam al-Asr alayhi salatu wassalam. Safinatul Najat is Abu Abdullah al-Hussein alayhi salam. In Ziyarat Jami'at al-Kabira, if you get time tonight, have a look at it, just look at the translation of it, and you would see the qualities or the requirements or the attributes of Ma'asumeen alayhimus salam, the Imams in particular, how Imam Hadi alayhi salam has mentioned them. Says, As-salamu ala du'ati ila Allah wal adillah ala mardatillah. Says, salam be upon you, those who invite towards Allah. Wal adillah ala mardatillah. The evidence, the argument, the proof. And then ala mardatillah, to the contentment of Allah tabaraka wa ta'ala. وَالْمُسْتَقِرِّينَ فِي أَمْرِ اللَّهِ. Those who are abiders of the decree of Allah tabaraka wa ta'ala. وَالتَّامِّينَ فِي مَحَبَّةِ اللَّهِ. Imam is someone who is complete, who is perfect in the mahabbat of Allah. وَالْمُخْلِصِينَ فِي تَوْحِيدِ اللَّهِ. Sincere, mukhlis, in the tawheed and oneness of Allah. وَالْمُظْهِرِينَ لِأَمْرِ اللَّهِ وَنَهْيِهِ. The manifestors of Allah's orders and His prohibitions. وَعِبَادِهِ الْمُكْرَمِينَ الَّذِينَ لَا يَسْبِقُونَهُ بِالْقَوْلِ. And Allah's honored bondmen who speak not until He has spoken. So whatever the Imam says, just like the ayat of Quran and they are the word of Allah and Rasulullah has delivered it, ahadith and the sayings of Ma'asumeen also carry that similar weight that we have faith in. وَهُمْ بِأَمْرِهِ يَعْمَلُونَ. And they act in accordance to the command of Allah Tabaraka wa Ta'ala. Assalamu ala al-a'immat du'at. Salam be upon you, the Imams, the inviters, the callers. Wal qadat al-hudat, the defenders, the protectors. Was-sadat al-wulat, the chiefs, the authorities. Was-zadat al-humat, the defenders, the protectors. See how beautiful. Every word of this ziyarat gives you what the Imam and what his role is and what his capacity is, what all he can do. So that ma'rifah means to know and to understand, to know what he is. And then once you have that ma'rifah towards the Imam alayhi salam, you have to have mahabbat towards him as well. Mahabba means love towards the Imam. And Quran says that love means that whatever he has asked you to do, you do it. Whatever he has asked you not to do, that is muhabba, and you don't do it. So, if I abide by the teachings of my Imam, the do's and the don'ts, due to love and respect, I carry out his commands, means I'm obedient to him. And that came to me as a result of that ma'rifah, that I knew what the station of the Imam is, what his rank is, and I submitted to him. That submission is mahabbat. And the third stage is that first it is ma'rifah, second it is mahabba, and third stage is to accept the Imam in all walks of life. Not just in certain things, no, in everything. A complete package. In all the do's and all the don'ts, I accept the presence and the existence of the Imam alayhi salatu wassalam. For this, the Holy Prophet, he says that someone who is like that, that is, he knows the Imam, he loves them, and he is firm with their command and has accepted them as his custodian, says, أثبتكم قدما على الصراط أشدكم حبا لأهل بيتي. Says the strongest on the sirat in the hereafter from among you will be the one who has the most and the maximum love towards the Ahlul Bayt, towards my Ahlul Bayt alayhim as-salam. Or elsewhere says, Ma'rifatu Ali Muhammadin bara'atun minan nar. That is, you have that ma'rifah, you know them, you will be given the permit to be free from fire. وَحُبُّ آلِ مُحَمَّدٍ جَوَازٌ عَلَى الصِّرَاطِ. You love them, it will be a permit for you to pass from the sirat. وَالْوَلَايَةُ لِآلِ مُحَمَّدٍ أَمَانٌ مِنَ الْعَذَابِ. And then you have the wilayat of the Ahlul Bayt alayhim salam. That will be a protection and a salvation from the chastisement of Allah Tabaraka wa Ta'ala. So without this ma'rifah, the ishq or the love that a person has, that also is incomplete. No matter what status and what position he may be having in the society, in the community, he is dead according to the ayat of Quran. Doesn't have any life. Someone who is distanced from the Prophet and the Ahlul Bayt alayhim as-salam. It's like a package of all sciences, but dead, of no use. A package of all arts, but dead, according to the definition of Quran. So maybe a pack of all qualities, all attributes and virtues and bounties, but in reality he is dead, as the Quran says. Now, Quran says, Ya ayyuhalladhina amanu stajibu lillahi wa lirrasul idha da'akum lima yuhyikum. O you who believe, respond to the call of the prophets when he calls you, when he summons you. Lima yuhyikum. That is, when the prophet summons you, when he calls you, it is so that you live, that real living is given to you. إِذَا دَعَاكُمْ لِمَا يُحْيِيكُمْ. So that he gives life to you. And the highest level of a real life has been bestowed to the Holy Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And if you want that living, accept his invitation of the Holy Prophet. Now here the Rasulullah is the distribution center of all those bounties. No science can give that life to you, no wealth can give that to you, and Rasulullah, he is the channel after all the prophets, and it is now the Imam al-Asr alayhi salatu wassalam. So the Prophet or the Imam today, he must distribute this rizq of Allah in his creation. He must nourish all men and women with this sustenance that is bestowed upon him. And one who is not seated on this table of ma'rifah of Rasulullah, no matter who he is, no matter where he wants to reach, no matter what rank he possesses, according to this ayah of Quran, he is dead, he is worthless. Imam as-Sadiq alayhi salam, he says that humanity are like beasts, are like animals. Animals that walk on their 2 feet, like walkie-talkie animals they are. Beasts they are, and have no belief, they have no worth, they have no value, they have no tag on them. Because the price that Allah Tabarak wa Ta'ala has set for every human being is the heaven. The price is the heaven. Now selling ourselves to anything less than the heaven, that is sustaining a big loss. Someone comes to Imam Kazim alayhi salatu wassalam and says that, Yabna Rasulullah, a trustworthy person, he has come to me and he claims that my father, he owes something to him, a large amount he owes, and says that, Imam, you know that I am a follower of yours and I love you and I am in accordance to the teachings of yours, I practice them. And this person, he says that my dad owes him an X amount of money. What do I do? Imam says that these people who are disconnected with us, the Ahlul Bayt, their reality is different. And then gives him a little dua and says, tonight past midnight, you go to Baqi, the graveyard in Medina, you stand and recite this little note, and then you'll see that a being appears before you, and don't panic, don't be afraid, because that being that will not resemble any human nor any beast. Says that is your father. Ask him, if he says pay, you pay, if he says don't, don't. And the reason why he has appeared in that devastated form is because of the disconnect of his with us, the Ahlul Bayt alayhim salam. Now he comes there, he sees as the Imam had mentioned, and he did not panic, and he asked his father, and then he comes and pays that person off. Now Quran says Yawma tubla sarair. Tubla sarair means that all that is hidden in me, it will be manifest, it will be known to everyone, it will be made public. In Barzakh and beyond, the interior will appear in the open. That on the day of judgment, everything hidden will be revealed. Then he says to the Imam, how will we have, we who have faith in you, Yabna Rasulullah, how will we appear in the Akhirah? We who love you and we have accepted your wilayat, how will we appear? Imam says, Yawma replies this ayah with, answers him with this ayah of Quran, يَوْمَ تَرَى الْمُؤْمِنِينَ وَالْمُؤْمِنَاتِ يَسْعَى نُورُهُمْ بَيْنَ أَيْدِيهِمْ وَبِأَيْمَانِهِمْ. The day you will see that the faithful men and women, with their light moving swiftly in front of them and on their right, and it will be told to them, بُشْرَاكُمُ الْيَوْمِ, good news to you today. جَنَّاتٌ تَجْرِي مِنْ تَحْتِهَا الْأَنْهَارِ خالدين فيها ذلك هو الفوز العظيم. And the good news is the heaven which is going to be given to you, wherein you will abide there forever. خالدين فيها, and then ذلك هو الفوز العظيم, and that is that mighty success, that mighty achievement you will get. As a result of that ma'rifah you had, that love you had towards the Prophet and the Ahlul Bayt, and that you accepted them in your life. So when you come, you will come out of your graves. The dark plains of Mahshar, they will be enlightened, they will glow as a result of your light. And that nur which you will be given, that you will have in the Akhirah, that is not your nur, that is the nur of us, the Ahlul Bayt, which will be given to you, with which you will navigate. Quran says, Salamun alaykum bima sabartum fa ni'ma uqbat dar. That is, you smell like Hussein, you resemble Abu Abdullah al-Hussein, you've got the fragrance of the Ahlul Bayt alayhimus salam. So Salamun alaykum, salam be upon you for the patience that you endured, fa ni'ma uqbat dar. That is, the best of the abodes is being given to you, uqbat dar. Now, a body is brought to the mosque in Medina, and Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam was asked to offer prayers on it. Rasulullah comes and sees that this is that very person. He was sent yesterday with Imam Ali alayhi salatu wasalam to carry out a task outside Medina. He says, what happened? How did he die? Now those who brought the body, they said that we went to a village and there Amirul Mu'mineen said that not to eat the food. The people, they have said, as it is poisonous. Now this person, this marhum, he said, why is it that Ali has to have a say in everything? He says, I'll eat the food. He ate the food and he got killed. He got poisoned and killed. Rasulullah, who had come to say the prayers on the body, he moves behind, says that he disrespected Ali, he disobeyed Ali, and then you want me to say prayers on him? That I will not do. Message gets to Amirul Mu'mineen alayhi salam, all the way from outside Medina. Amirul Mu'mineen rushes here, saying that, Ya Rasulullah, I forgave him, you offer prayers on him. So that is the kindness of the Ahlul Bayt alayhimus salam, how tolerant and how forgiving they are, and then at the same time the rank that was observed by the Holy Prophet, that someone who disobeys Ali, that Rasulullah also has nothing to do with them. So someone who is disconnected with the Ahlul Bayt and the Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, just like that animal which has been not slaughtered in the way of halal. So what do you do with that? You cannot eat, you cannot buy, you cannot sell, you cannot own it. What do? Says you have to spend from your pockets to dispose it. You can't even adorn it and leave it on the table for those who recognize it okay to eat. You can't even feed them. In fact, there is a hadith now, when we look into how serious this matter is, that Ma'asumeen alayhimus salam, their observance regarding halal and haram. Now Imam Sadiq alayhi salam was in a journey with his ashab. They were traveling, and in the morning of the night, when they have to depart, they come and say to the Imam, there is a camel that we came with. That camel is sick, is ill, and we cannot take it, and because we are not staying here, so that meat also we cannot eat because we are traveling in the morning, and also the camel also we cannot take. What do we do? Imam, because if we just leave it there, it's going to die. Imam says, slaughter it, sacrifice it in the way of halal. They say that, but we are leaving in the morning, Imam. Imam says, doesn't matter. Even if we are leaving and we cannot consume the food as halal, this halal camel, let those beasts and those vultures and as animals that will be feeding and feasting on this camel, let them also eat halal. So someone who is disconnected with the Ahlul Bayt alayhimus salam is like that animal which is not slaughtered in the way of halal, is najis. It has to be disposed. Says you cannot eat, you cannot keep, you cannot buy, you cannot sell, you cannot own it. Says like that is that person who is disconnected with Rasulullah and the Ahlul Bayt alayhimus salam. So if one was not with the Ahlul Bayt alayhimus salam, did not know them, did not love them, did not accept their wilayat, is worthless. Now some people, they came to Rasulullah and said that, Ya Rasulullah, why is it that when the name of Ibrahim is mentioned and the progeny of Ibrahim is mentioned, some people, they get happy, but when Ali Muhammad are mentioned, they get upset, they get furious, they get sad. Here Rasulullah says, وَالَّذِي نَفْسُ مُحَمَّدٍ بِيَدِهِ لو أن عبدا جاء يوم القيامة بعمل 70 نبيا, says, by him in whose hand is the soul of Muhammad, if a person comes on the day of judgment with actions not of one prophet, with actions of 70 prophets, ما قبل الله ذلك منه, Allah will not accept it from him, حتى يلقاه بولايتي, but that he meets my wilayat, and then وَوِلَايَةِ أَهْلِ بَيْتِ. So without the wilayat of the Ahlul Bayt and the Almighty Allah, no matter how much good we do, and even if we have the amal of as many as 70 prophets, none of them will carry any weight, and it will be thrown onto our faces in the Akhirah. Now, someone who is with the Ahlul Bayt, who accepted them as his Imam. Now all of these examples that were mentioned in the past few nights, and the Ashab of Abu Abdullah al-Hussein, who accepted him as their Imam, as their Wali, as their custodian, what rank do they have? What did they benefit? Here, if you look back into the history of the early days of after Rasulullah, says when Amir al-Mu'mineen was in the battle of Siffin and he was informed that Ammar has been killed, desperately Imam rushes by the body of Ammar, and Ammar is an old man, 90 years old at that time. Imam sat by him. Imam holds his head, places it in his lap, and then cries like a mother who has lost her son, and says, Malakul Maut, if you had to come, you should have taken the soul of Ali and you should have left this Ammar behind. That selfless and that great companion of Amir al-Mu'mineen and Imam, he cries for him like that. Now, man ahabba an yahya hayatan tushbihul hayat al-anbiya, if someone wants and loves to have a living which resembles the living of the prophets, and wants to have a death which resembles the death of shuhada, and he wants to be stationed and in the heavens, he wants to be stationed in the heavens that Allah has made, فَلْيَتَوَلَّ عَلِيًّا, that is, he must follow Ali. وَلْيَقْتَدِي بِالْأَئِمَّةِ مِنْ بَعْدِي, and all those Imams after Ali, he must follow them. فَإِنَّهُمْ عِتْرَتِي, indeed they are my family, they are my progeny. خُلِقُوا مِنْ طِينَتِي, they've been created with the same dust and clay that I was created. Allahumma arzuqhum fahmi wa ilmi, Allah grant them that understanding that I have and the ilm that I have. And waylun lil mukhalifin lahum min ummati, Allahumma la tunlihim shafaati, and shame on all those who are against and mukhalif from my nation, and Allah never give them my shafaat. So that beautiful effect is there of knowing the Imam and then accepting the Imam and loving them. About 160 years ago, one of the ulama of Najaf, his name is Sayyid Hussain Bahrul Ulum, a very knowledgeable person, and such high statements and remarks we find regarding this alim. He was afflicted with an eye problem, and his vision was fading and fading. It was in the last stages now. They come to the best of physicians in Baghdad. They had no cure. They said, we can't do anything. Go to Tehran, maybe there is something for you. He comes to the physician, sees the doctors in Tehran. They also give the same reply that nothing can be done, and it's too late now. You are losing your sight. Now he's in Tehran, and now with all those negative reports and remarks from the doctors, he has to go back to Najaf. Now when he comes to the ziyarat of Imam Rida alayhi salam, now this great alim, he comes and enters the sacred shrine, stands in front of the dhari of the Imam alayhi salam and says, Ya nayyiran faqa kullin nayyirati sanan, O illuminant, older and exalted than every noor, فَمِن سَنَاهُ ضِيَاءُ الشَّمْسِ وَالْقَمَرِ. It is by your noor that the sun and the moon they shine. The light they have is your light. قَصَدْتُ قَبْرَكَ مِنْ أَرْضِ الْغَرِي. Says, I've come all the way. Ghari is the name of Najaf. I've come from a place such lofty, such high, that is Najaf. وَلَا يُخَيِّبُ اللَّهُ رَاجِيَ قَبْرِكَ الْعَطَرِ. And Allah does not disappoint one who has hoped the fragrance of your grave. And then he says, رَجَوْتُ مِنْكَ شِفَاءَ عَيْنِي وَصِحَّتَهَا. Says, from you I have intended the cure of my eye and its well-being. وَمْنُنْ عَلَيَ بِهَا. Says, grant me and grace me with that shifa. وَكْشِفْ قَضَى بَصَرِي. And remove the distress of my sight. He has this qasida that he said himself before the grave of Imam Rida alayhi salam, and he is cured. He is granted shifa, a complete shifa. And then he lived for about 20-30 years after that with no corrective lenses. And in fact, even the tiniest things that no one could see, he could see. As a result of that ma'rifah towards the Imam, that he has that ilm now, he has that yaqeen, they can do it. Why? Because they are the sincere servants of Allah Tabaraka wa Ta'ala. When Allah says to you and me that you be obedient to me, I will make you like me. Now these are the Imams, they are the best of creation, the best of servants. If they can perform something miraculous like that, it is as a result of that obedience they have towards Allah Tabaraka wa Ta'ala. Tonight we'll speak a little bit about the sons of Hazrat Zainab and Abdullah bin Ja'far alayhim as-salam. Now these are those great shuhada of Karbala, and it is the remarkable education of Hazrat Zainab salamullahi alayha, her selflessness, her submitting and her sacrifice, that she never sees anyone, not even her children. She sees only and only Hussein at all the time. Her primary tawajjuh is Hussein. Her secondary tawajjuh is Hussein. So everything it is Hussein for Zainab Kubra. As if she remembers only and only Abu Abdullah al-Hussein and no one else. Now for example, when the message of the shahadat of Ali Akbar alayhi salam is given to Hazrat Zainab, she rushes from the camps to the battlefield and then saying that Ya Ukhayya, my brother, Wabna Ukhayya, and my brother's son. Her action over here is such beautiful. After all, Abu Abdullah is a father who has lost his son. And when he sees his son in such a disturbed manner, he has appeared before the Imam, that is going to weaken the Imam. And here Maqatil do say that when Imam saw the body of Ali Akbar, he could hardly stand on his feet. And two from Bani Hashim, they came and they held Abu Abdullah and they took him to the camps such that his feet, they were hanging. He couldn't stand on his feet at seeing the disturbed fate of Ali Akbar alayhi salam. Now Zainab Kubra, so that Imam is not weakened, she comes and she says, you go there, and she herself brings the body of Ali Akbar to the camps. So how wonderful the performance is. And when the heads of the Shuhada were distributed after Ashura, there were two heads stranded like lost and found property with no one to mourn for. They come and say that, whose heads are these two? They say one is Aun, the other is Muhammad. Who are they? Say, sons of Zainab. They come to Hazrat Zainab. She's got the head of Abu Abdullah, for which she is crying. So her primary demand is Abu Abdullah. Her secondary request is also the same. For her, everything is Abu Abdullah al-Hussein alayhi salam. Now here in Karbala, we see that one of the members of this Nurani caravan is Ruqayya, the daughter of Abu Abdullah al-Hussein alayhi salam. One of the things that hurts a lot is that atash, is that thirst that we have in Karbala. She says that thirst, indeed this thirst, it is killing me. And Ruqayya, she is that daughter of Abu Abdullah who was comforted by Abu Abdullah al-Hussein alayhi salam. Because when she was born, her mother, she passed away. And Abu Abdullah al-Hussein was the father and the mother for this child. Now, throughout this journey from Karbala to Sham, we have all these different miracles that took place with the noble head of Abu Abdullah al-Hussein alayhi salam, where he spoke to on many occasions. For example, when the head was placed on the house of Yazid la'anatullahi alayh, these people of Sham, they used to come and they used to disrespect, throwing stones at the head of Abu Abdullah. There he used to say, An al-Madloom, I am that oppressed. I am that oppressed. Now, when Abu Abdullah al-Hussein, his head was brought in the ruins of Sham. Now, on one of these nights, we see that there were cries that were heard from the ruins, from the prisons. Yazid says, why is everyone crying there? Why are all these screams for? Says that it's that toddler of Abu Abdullah, Ruqayya bint Hussein. She is missing her father. She is crying for her father. Yazid says, take this head and give it to her. They bring the head of Abu Abdullah. They throw it in the laps of Ruqayya. There she looks at the head and she says that Man alladhi qata'a waridak, who severed the veins of your neck, father. And then says Man alladhi aitamani ala sighari sinni, who is the one who orphaned me at this little age, at this young age of mine. And there says, with a sigh, she also departed from this dunya, with the head of Abu Abdullah al-Hussein in her laps. Now this Ruqayya, she went through such a tough time throughout this tragedy of Karbala, and she is someone who resembles Hazrat Zahra the most. Ahlul Bayt, when they were reminded of the Prophet, they looked at Ali Akbar alayhi salam. When they were reminded of Hazrat Khadija, they looked at Zainab salamullahi alayha. And when they were reminded of Hazrat Fatima salamullahi alayha, they looked at Ruqayya. She resembled Hazrat Zahra so much. Zainab, she was exhausted on the day of Ashura. The tents also, all of them half burnt. She fell asleep. And amidst her, in that sleep, she sees Hazrat Fatima alayha salam. Says, Mother, did you see what down poured on me on this day? Hazrat Fatima replies, I have no courage to hear, Zainab. Who do I complain then? Hazrat Fatima, Zainab says that I saw Shimr was beheading my son. As Fatima says, I saw Shimr was beheading my son. And every incident, everything that unfolded here in Karbala is before me. Zainab Kubra, she woke up from her dream and she sees that there is a child missing. She gets up and looks in search, and she doesn't find, and far away at a distance she sees that there are the bodies and the child is there. She comes there, says, Ruqayya, how did you find out your father is here? She says, I called him a few times. I called him a few times, and I called him desperately, and then I hear her call come from his voice come to me saying that, Ruqayya, I am here, I am here. And I come here and I recognize the fragrance of my father. She comes by the body of Abu Abdullah, hugs the body with her tiny hands, says, Man ba Ali Akbaro Abbas Ahmad Am. As in diyar bi ke tanha nemi ravam. I came with Ali Akbar, I came with Abbas, and from this barren land I will not return alone. Says, Sili mazan bisuratame shimr bi haya. Man bi Ali Akbaro Layla nemi ravam. O Shimr, do not slap me, do not lash me, do not beat me on my face. I will not return without Ali Akbar and without Layla. ألا لعنة الله على القوم الظالمين وسيعلم الذين ظلموا أي منقلب ينقلبون. إلهي بحق الزهراء وأبيها وبعلها وبنيها والسر المستودع فيها. يا الله 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 يا الله. اللهم أحينا حياة محمد وآل محمد وأمتنا ممات محمد وآل محمد. اللهم ارزقنا في الدنيا زيارة محمد وآل محمد وفي الآخرة شفاعة محمد وآل محمد. Ilahi, all those who are ill and ailing, grant them shifa. All those who have requested for du'as, Allah, whatsoever du'as and hajat they may be having, grant them. All those who have departed, Allah, forgive them and grant them the highest ranks and stations in your mercy and forgiveness. Hasten in the return of the Imam alayhi salam and count us all among his true servants and our children to be enlisted among the best of the Muslims, insha'Allah. وعجل في فرج مولانا صاحب الزمان. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد.